Shalom, beautiful people. All praise be to the Most High. Hallelujah. Welcome back here to the Moneypot YouTube channel. We are live here on May 4th, 2024. The Moneypot channel is a library of educational content created from a God-first perspective. The content provided is designed to improve viewers' knowledge of world economics and events, blockchain technology and cryptocurrency, and personal finance. Please note that the information provided here on the Moneypot YouTube channel is not considered financial advice.
Where we are about to, and I'll say this boldly, we're about to abandon the traditional system of money and accounting and introduce a new one. And the new accounting is what we call blockchain. It means digital. It means having a almost perfect record of every single transaction that happens in the economy, which will change where we are about to, and I'll say this boldly, we're about.
What is up, beautiful people all around Elohim's green earth? We are here on May 4th, 2024. Hope this message finds you well and at peace. We're talking about this new financial system and what it is going to look like. We got a lot to talk about, and I just want to start off with mentioning where my perspective comes from. I come from a biblical perspective, and it really stems from me developing a relationship with the Most High and striving to be more like Christ on a daily basis. So my perspective really stems from wisdom, seeking wisdom, and living according to the Most High's word. Yahshua says, "Therefore, everyone who hears what I say and obeys it will be like a wise person who built a house on rock. Rain poured and floods came. Winds blew and beat against the house, but it did not collapse because its foundation was on the rock." We must have our foundation on the rock, and the rock is Yahshua. We must be seeking him in these crazy times, as we are going to be seeing floods coming, rains coming, all these various events taking place. We must put our trust and our faith in Yahshua. He must be the foundation of our lives. Hallelujah. But that's the perspective that I come from, a perspective of truth. God's word is truth. And we must realize that, especially in these crazy times that we're living in. All right. So we're talking about this new financial system. And really, we're going to talk about quite a few things. We're going to talk about the currency of the future. And then we're going to talk about how this new financial system could be ushered in, which is going to be the second half of the live today. But here on the Moneypot channel, we have been putting out content about this new financial system for over a year now. And I just want to make sure that you have access to the resources that we have. Yes, we put out, content and educational content here on YouTube, Instagram, and other platforms. But if you're really looking to learn more about blockchain technology and just have a baseline understanding of it, I encourage you to go ahead and fill out this Google Docs form and request your free copy of the Future of Money course. Yes, I said that correctly. Free, okay? Go ahead and get you your free copy of the Future of Money course, because we want to be able to bless you with understanding blockchain technology and what it looks like to be involved in cryptocurrency. All right. So let's jump into this conversation here. The currency of the future. What is the currency of the future going to be? Well, in my opinion, it's going to be assets that retain their store of value. And we got a great graphic here from the US debt clock. With this new financial system, where we're moving towards, it's going to be based on limited supply of assets, assets that are going to increase in value and not based on old money, not based on fiat money that has an endless supply and is unaudited. That's a good one. But new money, this new financial system, it's going to be based on assets that are going to retain their store value, that have a limited supply, and that are transparent and verifiable. Real world assets. We must realize this and start structuring our portfolios accordingly. Because if we don't, you're going to be left behind, and all you're going to have are these central bank digital currencies. The United States dollar is slowly going extinct, and it is vital that we wake up and start to build up assets that retain their store value. Now, I'm going to talk about some here, but we must realize that we need assets that are not going to be depreciating over time. Assets that can be saved and exchanged in the future without depreciating in its value. Now, I'm going to get some comments on this one here, but real estate, land, is arguably one of the greatest store value assets that we could ever attain. Why? Because the Most High only puts so much land here on earth. And yes, sometimes real estate does go down, but over the long term, it always makes its way back. It always does. That's the exciting thing about land and real estate. And there's a finite supply of it. Just like what the new financial system is going to be based on. Assets that retain their store value. Now, there's going to be two ways that we're going to see this. We're going to see a little bit of the traditional financial system that we're used to being incorporated with this new financial system that is utilizing blockchain technology to tokenize assets. And we're going to talk about this. Don't worry. But first, let me just touch on some of the traditional assets that are going to be a part of this new financial system. I already mentioned land and real estate, but another one are businesses, cash flowing businesses. Yes, you're going to want to have a business that is generating cash flow. Seriously. Another store of value asset are precious metals. Precious metals have stood the test of time as a currency that can be utilized to keep its store of value, to back fiat currencies with. And that is really, really important. So, we see here gold and what it did over the past 15 years or so. And I want you to see and notice how the price of gold is inversely related to the United States dollar index. So what does that mean, Elijah? So whenever there is a strong United States dollar, that means that the gold is weaker. And whenever there's a strong gold price, the United States dollar is weaker. And I'm about to show you another figure. But we see here that, like for example, in June of 2022, when the United States dollar was very weak because of the fiscal monetary policy that, the government decided to go towards and just printing out all this money, we see gold being stronger and retaining that level of strength. And as we start to see now, at the end of 2022, we see the dollar start to get a little bit of strength. But now we're seeing gold hitting its all-time highs. It's well over $2,000 per ounce now. So as we've talked about this in other lives, we see countries getting off the United States dollar bill, which is going to have an impact on the dollar's index and strength. With that being the case, we have to be cognizant of assets that are not solely tied to the United States dollar bill and that are going to retain their store value for this new financial system. Please keep in mind, I'm talking about assets that are going to retain their store value and I believe are going to be able to be used in this new financial system. Assets that retain their store value, okay? And I'm just talking about precious metals right now. I'll get to the other ones. But over the last 50 years, we've seen gold going crazy. And this is not even up to date. This is as of February 2022. And it hadn't even reached 2,000. And now we're above 2,000 per ounce. Just think of those gains from, I'll say, less than 100 per ounce of gold, and over a, what's that, 50 years? 50 years? It's almost 10x, 20x. That is real gains right there. So when talking about store value assets, precious metals is one that is extremely important. So are businesses. And there are certain other traditional assets that will retain a store value. One of them I have written down in my notes is retirement accounts and IRAs and such. Because those are tied to the market, they likely are going to be able to keep pace with inflation. Now, will they keep their store value as much as an asset that's not tied to the United States dollar bill? It may be harder for it to, because of the purchasing power that the United States dollar is losing. So we must be cognizant of that. But what are some of the other store value assets that individuals can have in their portfolio as we're thinking about this new financial system? So we listed land, we listed businesses that are cash flowing on a monthly basis, precious metals, and even certain types of retirement accounts. But as we are seeing this shift into this new financial system, I do think it's going to be vital to have digital assets that will retain their store value. I saw this article here and I just want to share it. These are the, initiatives that a lot of the organizations that are going to be part of the New World Order are promoting. You see that little pinwheel? They have all these things these areas that they're trying to focus on. Okay, don't be too focused on that. But look at the title, Democratizing Money, a Pathway to Global Peace with a Focus on Digital Currencies. And really the main reason for this desire to democratize money is so that everybody can have a bank account, essentially. Everybody can be monitored, really. And, it starts off saying economic disparities contribute significantly to global instability and conflict. But as we're thinking about the new financial system and how we can operate in it, I want to highlight this, which comes from the article. It talks about understanding digital currencies in the context of democratizing money. We see here Bitcoin, Ethereum, as well as CBDCs offer new ways of designing some financial systems that are inherently more accessible and transparent. It's interesting that they separated Bitcoin and Ethereum from CBDCs. Mainly because Bitcoin works one way, Ethereum works another way. Proof of work, and then you got proof of stake. And then you've got central bank digital currencies, which likely are going to run on distributed ledger technology. And we have to realize that this decentralization that is coming to the financial system, you're going to want to have a diverse portfolio of assets, depending on what types of services and goods you're looking to purchase. Seriously. Because there may be restrictions on the types of digital currencies that you can use and how you use them. So being mindful of this, I do think that it's going to be inevitable that you have to change over some of your United States dollar bills into the United States central bank digital currencies when they come around. But if you already have a digital asset portfolio of assets that are more valuable than these central bank digital currencies, why do you have to change them over? It's a good question. As I think about it, I'm like, okay, let's say, and this is for purely example purposes, let's say XRP is a $50 bill. And then you've got your central bank digital currency, your US Fed coin is only $1. Would you rather have the $50 bill or the $1 bill? They both are able to be used, but one has more purchasing power. Hopefully that made sense. But think about, as we're talking about this new financial system, what it's going to look like, what could happen. We must think about how to develop a digital asset portfolio. And it's not necessarily just cryptocurrencies that are going to be tokenized. And it also could be NFTs and other sorts of digital assets that are on the blockchain but have a store of value. So there's one organization that is in collaboration with various other organizations that makes a lot of moves and decisions about the global economy. That organization is the Bank for International Settlements. We see here, this is the Wikipedia page. It's an international financial institution which is owned by member central banks. Keyword, owned by member central banks. So the member central banks join in, and they have this BIS, Bank of International Settlements, and the primary goal is to foster international monetary and financial cooperation while serving as a bank for central banks. So this is basically the motherboard, the motherlode, the mothership of the central banks. So when we see what the Bank of International Settlements is doing, that can give us some clues into what the rest of the member banks are doing. This is the bank for central banks. We must understand that. And everything has a top-down approach. Everything starts up high level and then it gets trickled down. So we can see what the Bank of International Settlements is doing, especially in regards to blockchain technology, as they've been putting out, I don't want to say courses, but they've been putting out information on how to integrate blockchain technology into this traditional financial system. And it's very interesting as to what they're saying. But I want to show you guys the financial results section of the Bank of International Settlements. They have SDRs, special drawing rights, which essentially is like, it's think of it as a certificate. The balance sheet of the BIS on March 2019 was 291 billion SDRs, or $403 billion United States dollar bills, and a net profit of $639 million. That is a lot of money. It's a lot of money. But, the Bank of International Settlements is in, it's obviously, for profit, but so think like they are going to want to be able to maximize their profits, their ability to make money. So what are they doing? They are innovating. All right. So let me share this video with you of one of the leaders of the Bank of International Settlements. And he's talking about blockchain technology and tokenizing assets. Take a look.
Tokenization is more than just a digital representation of money and assets. It involves digital representation on a programmable platform, which means that tokens can incorporate the rules and logic governing transfers, as well as the information about the asset itself. Now, currently, money and other claims reside in separate databases that are connected through third-party messaging systems, meaning that transactions need to be reconciled separately before being settled with finality. Tokenization makes all this one seamless operation. Tokenization is well suited to resolve incentive and information problems. Think of an example where a buyer would like to pay when the goods are delivered, while the seller would like to deliver the goods when the buyer pays. Tokenization can solve this problem by executing both transactions at the same time. Two real-world applications discussed in the chapter are resolving foreign exchange settlement risk and unlocking supply chain finance. A unified ledger with CBDCs can make full use of the ability of central bank money to knit together diverse elements of the financial system. In this sense, the full potential of tokenization can be harnessed by having central bank money reside on the same venue as other tokenized claims.
Whew. That was interesting, y'all. Y'all get anything interesting from that little video? Make sure to drop some comments. Let me know what you think. One of the things I found interesting about that clip was how the BIS is planning to, once everything has become tokenized, make it simplified for all these different parts to work together, these separate databases. And I just immediately thought of, one world government. If everything is on the same platform and everything is verifiable and one person can send it to another person, but then other person hasn't received the goods yet, but their money was still sent. It's very much, that's just how blockchain technology works, but it's very much where the world is going towards. As we're seeing trust decrease, they're going to utilize this blockchain technology as a way to say, hey, this is how you can trust everybody. It's crazy how much scamming goes on, how much fraudulent activity goes on. And I think it's only going to get worse, which is going to be part of this ushering in of this new financial system. But let me not get off on the tangent yet. We understand that the currency of the future is going to be assets that are going to attain their store of value. Now, really, the currency of the future is going to be blockchain-based digital assets, central bank digital currencies, ISO 20022 cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, and other certain cryptocurrencies that meet the requirements that the government puts in place, and they can own a lot of, and also is going to be able to allow for these central banks to issue these central bank digital currency coins. But when we think about the currency of the future, I do want you to realize that it's still going to be the ability to buy goods and services outside of a digital economy. It's going to be a lot harder, but there is still going to be an underground market where people are purchasing goods or even land and stuff for certain types of assets that really retain a store value. Maybe think of the bartering system. When stuff hits the fan, as we're about to talk about, as to what's going to usher in this new financial system, water is going to be extremely valuable. Fresh water is going to be extremely vital. Food, canned goods is going to be extremely, extremely necessary. And even protection. You're going to need your pew-pews. You're going to need your ammo because of the state of society. You're going to need batteries. You're going to need heat. You're going to need fuel. There are going to be other assets that are going to increase in their value because they are finite resources. Finite resources is really going to be the currency of the future. Even with the digital assets, the ones that are not finite, the ones that are unlimited, are not going to be as valuable. I'm sorry, but that's Dogecoin. Dogecoin has an unlimited supply. Got to be mindful of that. I think that's really the only reason why Musk can think about implementing that into Twitter's platform. And I haven't talked about this recently, but Elon Musk was talking about how he wants X to become just like WeChat. WeChat has the ability to pay. You can buy goods and services. You can do everything you need on WeChat. He's like, we don't have anything like that in the United States. Maybe because we don't need it. huh. But, you know, we are continuing to move towards this new financial system. As we're continuing to see de-dollarization happening, it is vital to build up a portfolio of assets that are going to retain their store value. I'm going to start sounding like a broken record. Store of value assets is where you need to be thinking of in regards to this new financial system. Seriously, de-dollarization is happening right before our eyes. I put out a video on Instagram the other day about World Star Hip Hop reporting that China and Russia have stopped utilizing the United States dollar in trade, and now they're trading in their own local currency. These are top 5 economies in the world. What do we think the other nations that are involved in the BRICS conglomerate, or involved in other conglomerates around the world, are going to start doing? They're like, oh man, we need to get back to that as well. So us as individuals need to start thinking the same way. We need to diversify our portfolio. All right? And scripture even tells us that we need to diversify. Solomon talks about it in Ecclesiastes 11:2. Give a portion to 7 or even to 8. For you do not know what misfortune may occur on the earth. You do not know what misfortune may occur on the earth. Give a portion to 7 or even divide it to 8. That's talking about diversifying. Diversification is vital. Even from a traditional financial sense, which I do understand and come from, still diversification is important. But even now more so, with how you're thinking about building up your asset portfolio, diversify. And one last thing on the digital currency, it's still time. You still have time to purchase cryptocurrency before this next bull run hits. We see here the last halving that happened in, we'll say 2020, and then even in 2016, 2017. It still took about 6 months to a year for the prices of Bitcoin to rise to those astronomical levels that everybody remembers. We have to be mindful of that. We have to be planning for that as well. If you're already in cryptocurrency, then start thinking about your exit strategy. What are your price targets going to be? You have to know these things. Because what if you wake up one morning and you have XRP, and now XRP is $100 per coin? What are you going to do? How much are you going to sell? Are you ready for that? You have to be ready. Have a plan written out. Don't be caught lacking. I don't want for my people to be caught lacking. Seriously. Okay? I don't want for y'all to be caught lacking. So, as we're talking about this new financial system, I do think it's hard to conceptualize how it will be ushered in. And I did include this in the title, but I want to refer to an idea that I mentioned maybe on the last live about a black swan event. Now, the one thing with black swan events is that they are unpredictable. It's important to always assume that a black swan event could happen at any time. Seriously. In a black swan, unpredictable event that is beyond what is normally expected of a situation has potentially severe consequences. We have to be ready for these things at any time. Anytime. Don't be caught lacking. But as we are continuing to see, various events happening around the world, even here in the United States more so, and they're becoming a lot more often here in the States, we have to be mindful that could these little tremors be leading up to a larger earthquake? I don't know. But I think it's better to be prepared than not to be. I mean, literally this week we are seeing protesters on college campuses protesting about this conflict in the Middle East. These are very, very interesting times that we're living in. Okay. So let's talk about it. Okay, I saw this TikTok that I want to share with you all as it pertains to this new financial system being integrated, and also what could be a reason for it, these things happening. Here it is.
Sure, this is the Black Swan event we've all been waiting for. All right, so for those who don't know what a clearinghouse is, put simply, they are the middleman between every buyer and seller, whether it's through stocks, options, fixed income. They ensure that whatever is being bought or sold is done smoothly and accordingly. All right, so there's more than just these four here, but these are the main four agencies. You got the DTC up top, NSCC, FICC, and OCC for options. Now, I can't imagine if just one went down, but if one were to go down, typically they'd all go down. Now, I'm not saying the agencies will go down, but if they were to, these guys would be the ones to fill in and step in and ensure that they don't go down. But if they were to go down, this is where it gets crazy. If the DTCC were to go down, this is the clearing corporation. If they were to go down and not be able to bail out any of the agencies, the next basically regulator to step in would be the SEC. Now, if the SEC doesn't have enough liquidity, which in my opinion they don't, to bail out not only the agencies but also the clearing corp, you're going to have the biggest market collapse of all time. Like, it'll make the Great Depression crash look like peanuts. And what if this guy right here knew this was coming all along? Like, think about it. What if he knew they were going to destroy themselves and he just came out and let them just do it because he knew it was going to happen regardless? Now, they're obviously going to pull some kind of other stunt, whether take us to war, do some kind of cyber attack. They'll never say it was because of this. They never will. They'll use some other kind of event to put the blame on, just like 08, 09, they blamed it all on Lehman. I don't know. It could be Citadel, it could be some other corporation. They're not going to blame it on themselves.
They're not going to blame it on how weak this whole infrastructure is. But I thought that video was really interesting. Not a lot of people know about just the inner workings of our economy. So that DTCC Clearinghouse Corporation basically makes sure that payments get settled, making sure that banks are paying the banks, and that the millions and billions of dollars that are getting moved around are getting cleared and basically delivered. And it's interesting. I'll talk a little bit more about the event that we could see. But earlier on, he gave that the understanding of the DTCC, and here's the clip. Regulators told to be ready to handle failed clearinghouses. This is April 25th. So this is important to be aware of, because if clearinghouses start to fail, then the whole financial side of the economy is going to really break down. When we think about these clearinghouses, think about clearinghouses for the New York Stock Exchange. Think about them for Amazon, for Google, and those sorts of payments that may not be getting cleared. That is going to put a major halt to the economy as a whole. And it's interesting that they, told regulators to be ready to handle failed clearinghouses. Now, I do think that there's intentionality behind this, actually, because you basically have to destroy something before you like to build it up. When you are a developer and you see a beautiful piece of land that you have that you like, you purchase it, but there's a building on it that's old and decrepit, the first thing that you have to do is demolish it. You have to demolish the old to build up the new. You got your blueprints, you got your trial runs, you got your specs and everything for this new building, but you still got to get rid of the old one because it's on that land that is prime real estate. Come on. So this intentionality behind moving us towards a new financial system, they could blame it on something else, likely a black swan event. But I do believe that they'll be working in conjunction. They'll be working together. Now, why would they be ready to demolish if they're not ready to rebuild? That may be a question you're asking yourself. And I thought about it. The DTCC is currently working with the Digital Dollar Project right now with a pilot. And this was as of November 2022. And we see Accenture are part of this project, and the DTCC and the Digital Dollar Project. So what were they doing? They were piloting how settlements could be done with the United States Central Bank digital currency. Go look it up for yourselves, y'all. This is all public information. And these are the blueprints. These are the specs. They've already been behind the scenes working on these pilot programs. It's not just here in the United States either. It's all around the globe. We only get the highlights, or maybe someone talks about it on social media, trying to wake people up like I am. We have to realize that they're already doing all these, preparing all of these things that are going to be part of this new financial system. So, with that being the case, we have to prepare ourselves as well and try to combat this exert of power over our lives as much as possible. But you ask Elijah, how do you know that they've already got the blueprints working, they've already got the specs and everything for this new building? It's right here, the Digital Dollar Project and the DTCC. In 2022 as well, we saw the Biden administration put forward legislation to developing a framework for digital assets. They, in that report, they referenced the Federal Reserve, they referenced the SEC, they referenced the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. So all these agencies are working together to bring about this new financial system. So we be mindful of these things and we prepare accordingly by developing assets, developing a portfolio of assets that are going to retain their store value. It's vital. It's vital right now. Time is really running out. And it's important that we think long term with our investing and realizing that assets that retain their store value are going to be valuable over the long run. And have diversification as something important that you value. Seriously. Because who knows? Who knows how bad it's going to get here in the States? Nobody knows how bad it actually is. But as I see the apocalyptic movies and, the predictive programming that goes on in the TV shows and reading the Most High's word, you realize that Babylon is going to be judged for its sins, for unrepentance. And we're seeing it right now. All this unrest, all of these poking of the bears, whether it's Russia, China, Iran, the Western nations are asking for it. And I wish they would stop. We had to be diligent. We had to be diligent. So, as I'm wrapping up, I just want to share this little thing in regards to the Black Swan event. Because we're seeing protests, like I said, on college campuses. We're seeing bombing happening in the Middle East. And then we're also seeing natural disasters taking place. But we're also seeing the FBI warn of things. We see the director of the FBI mention this. Americans warned of possible coordinated attack on the homeland. This is what he said verbatim. As I look back over my career in law enforcement, I would be hard-pressed to think of a time where so many threats to our public safety and national security were so elevated at once. But that is the case as I sit here today. That is the case as I sit here today. That's the reality of these times that we're living in. And then we see here an alert about Chinese hackers preparing to attack the United States infrastructure. I don't know what the Black Swan event is going to be to usher in this new financial system, but it's going to have to be pretty drastic. And I say that because when we think about because really what central bank digital currencies are doing is an attempt to take away more of our freedoms. But the last time that we saw our freedoms being limited was when the Patriot Act was signed. And we see now government agencies being able to monitor citizens at a much higher level, with much more accuracy, with having access to all sorts of records. And with that being the case, it would require another sort of event like 9/11 to take place so that more freedoms can be given. And I also think that that's why, even during the eclipse, there was so much fear mongering going on. And they're going to continue to do that. Because that's how the enemy works. But let me remind you of what the Most High's word says. For Elohim has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind. Right here, 2 Timothy 1, verse 7. We need to understand this sound mind part. We must be operating with a sound mind moving forward, as well as power and of love, but also a sound mind, especially when we're talking about developing a portfolio of assets that retain their store value. The Most High has not given us a spirit of fear, so do not be fearful as to these crazy times that we're living in. Know that Yahweh is going to protect you. Let him be your strength and your defender. But we have to be diligently seeking him, being aware of these times, and having a sound mind, especially with how we're utilizing our money. So be aware that this new financial system is coming. Be aware of it. If you're looking to learn more about this new financial system, I encourage you to check that link in the comments and request your free copy of the Future of Money cryptocurrency course. It'll give you a good basic understanding of cryptocurrency. But like I said throughout this video, the currency of the future is predominantly going to be digitally based, but it's going to be assets that retain their store of value. And yes, there are some traditional assets that we know of that we can purchase right now in the traditional financial system that are going to retain their store of value. Land and real estate. Business models that are generating cash flow. Precious metals and retirement accounts. Don't be so tied to the United States dollar, because the United States dollar is going to be replaced by, guess what? The Fed coin, the United States Central Bank digital currency. As you are thinking about your strategy, how to build up your portfolio, understand that when the Black Swan event happens, there's likely to be good buying opportunities in the various markets. So if you have cash on hand that you'd be like, oh snap, I could put this towards that, this towards this investment, then save it for that rainy day. Or just have cash on hand, because cash is going to have a store value. Not a lot of cash, but we're still in the United States. And we utilize cash for the majority of purchases. So be mindful of that. Be mindful of these things. As we are living here in May of 2024, this year is flying by the way, crazy. But be diligent with your money and building up your asset portfolio. Store of value assets is where your mind needs to go towards. Hope that you were able to find this quick live stream beneficial to your perspective. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at _Moneypot. Make sure you share this video with a loved one. Like, comment, subscribe. Do what you do, but I appreciate you. And never forget that Yeshua HaMashiach is the way, the truth, and the life. It don't matter how much gold you have. It doesn't matter how much silver you have. It doesn't matter how many relationships you have with people in high places. If you don't have Christ, your soul will not be saved. You will not have eternal life. Hope that you have a blessed night. Until next video, make sure y'all stay blessed, stay healthy, stay prayed up. Peace.